G'day, Chief. Welcome to the Inner Chief podcast and this very special Minisode and YouTube video. And today we're going to talk all about how to work on the business, and in particular, the mindset and the process and the rhythm that you can bring in order to absolutely nail your role as a senior executive. From the very top, let's talk mindset, because working on the business, that is the role of a chief. I think we all know that. But really understanding that and how it really works, it actually took me a lot of years to truly understand this. And there's a few things that happened and a few analogies that were given to me that actually really helped. Helped me with my consulting to clients, and certainly helped me in the way that we have built Chief Maker over the years. And it's a mindset that the business is actually an asset. Like a house is an asset. A business is an asset. It's something that has a value. It's something that has an impact. Something that plays a role. And when you think, just for an instance, imagine the business or the organization you're in was more like a house or a property. You would be understanding that it has a role. It has to house a family or something, or a group of friends. And secondarily, it has a value. And you want that to give you a value either via rent or via capital growth. And so what we're looking for here is a mindset that says, I'm looking almost from a helicopter view down, or from an owner perspective that says, hey, that is an asset that I'm trying to improve its impact and its valuation in the market. That is the mindset we have to bring to this. It's not about a department. It's not about what we're doing internally. We have to think like an owner. Right? We really have to think like an owner. So I want you to step back for a minute, almost as though you are the owner. Imagine if you bought this business, or were going to buy the business, or if you're working for a government department. Imagine you were a member of parliament or something like that, and they said, hey, I need a department to do a certain function, to perform a very certain function to a level of performance or a certain service level, or get a certain result that is so important. What kind of organization would I need? Looking at it from a helicopter perspective, that is our mindset here. Like a true chief, think like an owner. Think like the main stakeholder who needs a result out of this business, be it monetary or in performing a certain function in society. That is our mindset piece, right? So step back. Even if you've got to draw the business as a whole, use a mind map or something there to understand it. So now we have a bit of a sense of the mindset. The next step then is this. What is going to be your process? Now, in order to start working on the business, you actually have to understand how the business works. Right? So if you're a private business, we need to understand how the business is actually valued. We're looking for a valuation here. You have someone out there who has an equity stake in the business. That might be a complete single owner, it might be a consortium, it might be a listed company. We need to understand how the business is valued. If you don't understand how your business is valued, right, and all the different factors that go into that, from EBITDA into things like barriers to entry and barriers to exit and sustainable competitive advantage, and the things that the analysts in your particular industry value, then it's really hard to work on the business, because you actually don't know what you're trying to do. So Chief, do the research on that. There's plenty of available information out there about how you actually value a business. Okay, I think if you Google it or put it in a chat GPT, you'll get some answers. Make it your business to understand how the business is valued. Now, if you're more in the public sector, you have to understand how the business is assessed as being successful. Right? What are the core measures across the business as a whole when the Director General or the CEO of that particular department goes before members of Parliament and says, hey, this is what we've been doing? They need to know how they're being assessed as a whole. And if you don't know what that scoreboard looks like, you don't know what is most important on that scoreboard, then how can you possibly work on the business? Now, a lot of the time when we're in the business, both private and public sector, we're sort of stuck a couple of layers down, and we don't really understand how the business is valued or how the business is assessed as being effective or not. And I have found over the years it is absolutely enlightening when you go and find that out. Right? It's often in a private sector, could be a CFO discussion, or it could be the CEO, a member of the board. Go and learn from them. Go and find out, right? Because they will give you some fantastic and really valuable insights that perhaps you weren't aware of. And same goes over in a public sector. Maybe it is still the CFO in some degree, but it may well be someone who plays more of a director general role, or even understanding, going back to things like the overarching importance of that particular business, organisation, and its charter and what it's there for. Right? And if you understand the charter of the organisation and its core factors that drive its whole creation, and that the fact that every single year it's given probably tens of millions of dollars to operate, we need to know what return on investment the government is looking for in that particular business. What is it going to deliver back to society? So first of all, the mindset of thinking like an owner, really understanding, taking that helicopter view of what is this asset, what is its function, and how do we assess value. Then working out how you actually determine value. How do you determine what that is? This is your process piece. Really get to the heart of what actually makes this happen and learn about strategy, all the different factors that will drive a sustainable, competitive advantage in the market that will deliver results and improve the valuation. Okay? Then the third thing to really work on the business is your rhythm, both as a team or an executive team and also as an individual. You need to find, as an individual, a bit of a rhythm where you're regularly working on the business. Okay? And as an organization, we need to do that too. So I'll give you a bit of an example of how this can actually be a bit difficult. I was working with an executive team once. We went away for a couple of days and we had all of our strategic work before us. I did a bit of research in the lead up to this offsite, and I asked them for all their historical strategic plans. I got all the strategic plans and I did a bit of a review, and I noticed something pretty quickly. I got all these strategic plans. I actually put up 5 plans in big, large format printouts. I put them on the walls in this big conference room we're in. And when the executive team turned up, I asked them to pair up and just go and look at these 5 strategic plans and see if they can see any patterns. The executives paired up, they walked over to the wall, they started looking at all the different plans, and then they started hearing this giggling around the room, people laughing, and going, oh my gosh, like you could see that they just couldn't believe what they were looking at. And I said, what do you guys see? And they said, all the plans are the same. They're all the same. So I said, so therefore we've got to determine, is the plan wrong, or is it that you don't know how to execute, right? Because working on the business is both. It's defining what it is you need to do, right, in line with how the business is evaluated or performance is assessed, and then executing that and working on the business consistently as a chief, delegating tasks effectively down into the business, tracking results, coaching your people, creating the fantastic culture. That's all working on the business, all towards getting towards that higher level outcome. So your operating rhythm as both an individual and as an organization are critical. And there's a bit of a clue to it, or a bit of a process, and I'll quickly talk you through it. I've said before that if anybody wants to know what an executive team operating rhythm looks like, please just email us. We will send you that, just email us through the website, chiefmaker.com, on the contact us page. Just send me a bit of a query and I'll send that to you. Or my personal email is greg@chiefmaker.com. Just email me and I'll send you an executive team operating rhythm, which helps you work on the business. Anyway, back to the story. The story is this. We got the executive team to define their highest level strategies, or strategic pillars, and the key projects underneath each of those that would help improve the valuation of the business and the share price in the market. So we did a wonderful job of that over several days. Then what we did is we went back into the business and said, let's execute. We'll see you again in a month. There's these around about, I think 12 projects over 6 departments that we had that they needed to actually to start executing on. We came back a month later into what we call the monthly strategy steering committee, and not one bit of work had been done. Not one bit of work. Now that's because they went back into the office and life just got busy again. The chaos reigned. Okay, so they did the first part, which was the annual offsite to determine the strategy and work on the business, but then they forgot the next part. So what we did is we actually got the team together and said every week on Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m, we're going to come into the boardroom together as a group, and we are going to spend 2 hours a week working on the business and just doing strategic projects, and all your peers will be here. It'll be wonderful. It'll be good fun. We'll have a cup of coffee and a laugh as well. Now, that team of about 8 executives, I think they were, went from doing no work per week on the business to doing 2 hours per week on the business. Now, the week after, because they knew they were coming to a meeting where they would have to work on the business for 2 hours with their peers, they did some prep work. So we went from 2 hours to more like 4 or 5 hours a week. Then we went from 5 hours a week to more like 10 hours a week working on the business. And that was it. That was enough. When you have an executive that's working at least 2 hours a day, shifting the dial on strategic projects, the business rapidly improves. The transformation worked. They executed their first strategy in 20 years and hit their first proper target in something like 7 years. They'd been given guidance to the market and they hadn't hit a target for 7 years. So they weren't exactly a market darling, but they were in the end, because we got all the chiefs to work on the business, all the executive team to work on the business. Now, just at a very high level, what does that rhythm look like? An annual 2-day strategy. Go away with your team, get really clear on purpose, vision, values, strategy, operating rhythm, your comms plan across the business. So we do that annually. Then there's a quarterly check-in, right? They normally go for about half a day or a day, right? I'd do a day. Get your team together so you can spend some time. Just either go somewhere down the coast or to the mountains. Just you don't need a facilitator. Just go yourself and spend time on the business as an executive team, right? So annual 2-day, quarterly, half day, 1 day, and then every month what we want to be doing is coming together to assess the projects that we've been working on. You need a project sponsor and a project manager who are actually reporting on the progress against your strategic projects. We need to have complete visibility of that. We want people standing up and with accountability and excitement and inspiration, actually telling the story of how their projects are moving. And so we should be able to see in some sort of dashboard or project reporting tool how all of our strategic projects are going in the right direction, and the executive team is working on the business to make these improvements as much as you are operating the business every single day. So Chief, they're the 3 big things. Get the mindset right, okay? Get your process for understanding how it is the business is valued and how it is assessed from a performance perspective, and then get your operating rhythm in place. If this is something you want to learn a lot more about, this is something we do in depth in our MINI-MBA in leading high performance teams. If you're a fairly senior leader with a chunky team and you really want to come together with a whole bunch of other executives around Asia Pacific, hey, then we'd love to have you. We'd love to see you. We've got a wonderful cohort that comes together several times a year, and you really will learn to work on your business in throughout the program. The case study is your business, and you will spend at least 3 hours a week transforming your own department and organization. Anyway, Chief, I hope that helps you understand the how of how to work on your business. As always, remember to stay